Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to make this gorgeous little swipe. Hey guys, so today what we're doing is we're just making that little swipe that we just saw in that first opening screen. It's just a small 20 by 20 centimeter canvas that I'm just covering there with some white paint and floetrol. In Australia, so it's Australian floetrol. I'm just popping on a few of these new colours that I have just made up this morning. I spent last night having a bit of a play to see what colours I liked. My daughter was wanting one done for a gymnastics pool, which I think will be the next video for you guys because I'm embellishing it with a gymnast dancing on a stage. So we're just playing with some pinks and purples for her, and she's like, "Oh, I want this one." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." So we're just starting off by making a base swipe. The paints I'm using there are actually quite thick. They don't tilt and run off the canvas very easily. In bulk, they'll move around a little bit, but I like to keep them sort of fairly solid and stable for this. I find it gets better results. It doesn't create anywhere near as much mess either, by the way. By keeping those paints a little bit thicker, using a little bit less of them, and doing this way, I find much less mess, which is great. Some of the big ones I do on wood panels and huge canvases, they make a lot of mess. Trying to pull them through the house, dripping and paint everywhere, it's a bit painful. So this technique doesn't make anywhere near as much mess. The colours I'm using there are a mixture of paints. These ones I think are mostly the Italia paints and a little bit of the global whites and things mixed in. The pretty sort of pinky red one at the bottom there actually has quite a lot of the global metallic pearl in it as well, as it's white, and it looks gorgeous, and as does that middle one there, that quite creamy peach color. I'll leave a link below if anyone's interested in knowing how I made those colors, but they're just blends of white, a warm red, and a tiny little bit of magenta actually as well, and particularly in that first one. And what I'm doing there is I've just used a damp paper towel, a full paper towel this time round, to swipe down those colours. And I've just used a white paint and floetrol over the top of that as this white medium. And that paper towel, just damp, sit it in the top of the paint for a couple of seconds, let the paint get on it, and then pull it down slowly. You don't need to rush it and go quickly and think, oh, it's going to pull up too much paint. It doesn't. Just take your time and go nice and slow. And what I'm doing here, because I'm not tilting the canvas, I need to cover the sides. And if you just paint them with a flat color, it doesn't look anywhere near as good as it does if you put some sort of a pattern on it. So use your paper towel, hold it there for a couple of seconds, let that paint sink in and get some of the pattern onto the sides of the canvas. If you do it more than once or twice, the pattern sort of tends to pull off the paper towel, and it starts to look a bit muddier. So try and only use one dab or two dabs of each paper towel. Because I was only doing the one swipe there, I did use it 4 times. With that same paper towel. And what I'll do here is, if there was any holes with these other swipes I'm about to do, I can go back and touch those up, but it wasn't too bad. I'm now just adding in some lines of different colors. So there's just a gold there, and then this is a turquoise blue mixed with some phthalo blue. And I'm just dotting them around the canvas in a trying not to make them too linear, so not getting all the lines all in one row horizontally, just so I have some slightly different starting points to start from, making sure there's one that's sort of going off the canvas at the top of the page, and one that's quite close to the bottom, so it will swipe off the page as well. That's really quite important. You don't want them too much the same. And that color there is just really pretty. It's quite sparkly, it's bright, and I really like that. I only made a little bit of it, as you can see, just in the pot there, and then I've just mixed that in there with the floetrol and water and 1 or 2 drops of silicone in those in the colours, not in the gold or the white. And just blending those ones through. I love this technique. It's makes those really gorgeous sort of you know, the water drop marks and things on the back. You have to be careful to make sure that you put those thick paints right on the edge of the canvas, otherwise you end up with holes. Because you're not tilting it, you need to make sure there is enough, you know, those dots and coverage on the sides of the canvas when you are initially doing it. But it works really well, and as I said, it doesn't make too much mess. Now you can see there, I'm just very carefully putting that in. You can see how long it took me holding that paper towel in the right spot before I actually swipe that through. Cheating a little bit there using the same paper towel. It's just a little bit, yeah. But it's still working. There's still lots of nice bright colors on it, so I was like, yeah, okay. And that's just me touching up the side. So hold it there for a couple of seconds, make sure you get it right. It's much better to hold it there for a couple of seconds, dab it in, rather than wiggling it about too much, otherwise you end up with that slightly muddier mess. Now I'm actually just using the other side of the paper towel at this point. For no reason other than it was just easier than going grabbing and ripping off another piece of paper towel. Laziness, we'll go for laziness, but you know, I knew it wasn't going to make too much of a problem. And you can see just in those first couple of swipes there, the pretty, you know, the pattern that's coming through. I really like the way that the slightly thicker paints and this technique with the floetrol in the water really pops up those that very bubbly texture. There is a couple of drops of the silicone in there as well, which obviously helps, but I do like the way this works. I've done quite a few like this. And it's actually really quite easy. I kind of tend to know a little bit more what I'm actually going to get out of this. Sometimes when I'm pouring and doing tilting, I'm like, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? And particularly when you're doing it this way, if you need to do some post edits and add in an extra little bit of a color in a particular, you know, just to brighten it up, or if you want to add in more gold, or you're like, it's too white, I want to add in pink, or it's too pink, and you're like, I need to add some white. You can do that, or add in the extra blue. You can do that. You can change your colors around. I find a little bit easier than when you are doing pouring. Maybe that's not what everyone thinks, but you know, I like doing it this way. And I'm just pulling a little bit of paint over the edge of the canvas there, just so we don't end up with sort of a border around the edge of the canvas that looks a bit bland. Or rather, it looks like there was, you know, not enough there. It's like when you're making a pizza and you put all the toppings in the center and the edges look bad. You should focus on the edges, and then the center kind of like just appears, I think. Yeah. So I'm sure acrylic pouring isn't really very much like pizza, but anyone who's had any of my pizzas knows that I make good pizza. And again, I'm just touching up the sides there with the that paper towel. Now I'm dragging, originally I started doing the vertical swipes, and now I'm doing some horizontal ones, and I'm trying not to make it look too much like a chessboard, checkerboard sort of kind of a thing. I'm trying to get those a little bit random and have a bit of a think and plan them out and see where you want to do it. Sometimes it helps to actually draw it on a piece of paper first. With this technique, you can get them fairly much where you mean to get them. And I'm just trying to get those swipes in, but also leaving just a little bit of that base, the base swipe in there with just the plain peach white and that tiny little bit of the amethyst color, which is that light sort of purple color. And again, just focusing, making sure I'm getting a little bit of paint on the edges. And that is the finished result. It doesn't take too long. Get those gorgeous little cells, and a few more will pop up as we go through. Here are the other videos that are in this little series. And the one up in the top corner there, I embellish up with a gymnastics dancer. And we'll see that very shortly. And please stick around, subscribe, comment, like. It really helps me out. And it's been great. I will see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.